What's going on? This is another broke topic. Um, Title is "If You Broke, Just Say That." Now, what do I mean by this? If you've been following me, you've watched a few of my videos over the years. Pretty much, I'm the person that pretty much is kind of like the outlier. It's kind of like a person that let's just say a person that acknowledges their downfalls and instead of running away from it or hiding it, just kind of most people, they hide who they are or hide their problems. I Not to say that I don't necessarily put all of my life business out on YouTube. I mean, I do keep some things private, a lot of things private, but my financial well-being, I just decided to just put it out on the public sphere, and it worked. I mean, pretty much. I mean, it's something that I started this channel with 5 years ago, and actually 6 years ago to date. And I was somebody that was struggling, and just like most people in America, and I just acknowledged the fact that yes, I was broke, and a lot of people would not acknowledge their downfall or their financial shortcomings, but I was just, you know what, who the hell am I to be like, okay, I'll run from my problems or hide under a rock and pretend as if everything is fine, because most statistically most people in America have financial shortfalls and are statistically broke. What do I mean by broke? Basically, if you have more liabilities than assets, you're broke. Meaning, even if you got a even if you got a house, uh, you know, nice as all get up. You got a 15 bedroom house, five bathrooms, and a $3.5 million mortgage. Well, you're broke because basically all it has to happen is you not make that mortgage payment a few months, and the foreclosure process will be started. Whatever you paid into that property will be pretty much null and void. It will go towards the whatever principal amount or interest amount that you've already been paying. House is going to go through a foreclosure sale. Once the foreclosure sale is done, in most cases, a property is below the price that it sells in a auction, a foreclosure auction. So not only do you have to foreclose on your house, you get stuck with the balance that's left over from what you did not pay. So let's say, for example, house is $3.5 million as far as the mortgage, the outstanding mortgage. You paid, let's just give a generous amount. You paid a $500,000. You paid $500,000 towards the house. So you got a 3.3 million dollar balance left. The foreclosure auction, because it's pretty much a nice mansion, it sold for $1.5 million. So you're on the hook for $1.5 million. Not only do you lose your $500,000 that you paid into the house, any down payments that you put into the house, and you are on the hook for an additional $1.5 million shortfall that the bank is not going to pay. They are going to look after you to pay that shortfall because they had to sell that property for a loss on a foreclosure auction, and you're stuck with the bill because basically. your house is a liability because you do not own it. Now, it's the same thing that goes for cars. Any liability that you have, you don't have the money to offset that cost with an asset, whether it be money, whether it be a house or car or collectibles, jewelry, art, whatever the case may be. You don't have the assets to cover those liabilities. I don't care how much money you make or anything, you, in my opinion, are broke. And it just begs the question: if you are broke, why don't you just say that you're broke? Why do you hide behind, the lie that you're doing okay? Why do you cap, for the internet and pretend as if you are not broke? Why? This is just a question for me to ask the public, which is you. Why do you why don't you say that you actually are broke? Why don't you say that you're broke? And I have my reasons to believe, to understand, maybe I kind of already know why you don't say that you're broke. Is because it's embarrassing. I'll say, obviously, what's the first thing that comes into mind? It's embarrassing to be broke. Even though most people are broke, and then let's just face it, black people in America, we are financially on the bottom. That just face it. Most people look at black people in America as if they already are broke. That's why when you, even if you have enough money to go, shop at Neiman Marcus and shop at what Chanel and Gucci and Louis Vuitton. You come into the store, they immediately bum rush you to ask you, do you need any help, because they think you're gonna steal an item off the shelf. The reason being is, they people's ideology on TV and what they see and stuff like that is that, yeah, most black people are basically on the bottom, as far as statistically speaking, as far as wealth, as far as income earnings, we are absolutely on the bottom. So they assume everybody's on the bottom. If you have that skin tone, which is a shade of brown with woolly nappy hair, they automatically think that you are broke. Now, the thing about it is, a lot of black people, such as myself, have been at one time or even now broke, actually broke. I mean, let's just face it. The odds are stacked up against black people in this country. I mean, let's just put aside the fact that, for now, not being basically left alone or unbothered, right? All of the uh stuff that goes with economic warfare or economic racism, right? Just within black people in America itself, we don't collectively support each other like other uh groups, such as Asians, such as Jewish, people, uh, Amish people. I mean, we just don't support each other like that. We have some type of like complex when it comes to, you know, uh, supporting each other. It's almost like a dog eat dog type of mentality. You know, uh, as soon as you get a store, somebody wants to get a discount. They treat your establishment like it's a flea market. Like it's you could haggle. When the prices are just like the prices in Walmart, you don't go to Walmart to haggle prices, but you'll go into some black establishment and all of a sudden you want to, haggle prices. Ask me how I know because, basically, yeah, I had a store and not a day went by where I pretty much had somebody haggling prices with me. And it's like, okay, come on, this is not. I left the flea market to actually start a storefront, and then I'm still getting treated like as if I got a flea market, and I'm not the only one. I mean, it's the whole hookup, type of thing. Look out for me, brother, and you know, uh, even just outright not supporting my business and other black businesses, that is a link to downfall. That's a link to lack of jobs, lack of wealth. I mean, this stat here is basically the overall wealth in the United States in 2021 Q2. Okay, this is from based off of from whites to blacks, Hispanics, and others. So others would be pretty much Asians, Native Americans, anybody else outside of those three classifications: white, black, Hispanic. So I mean, this tells a sign. I got this from Tone Talks. Was pretty much watching Tone Talks, and I kind of clipped this here, and it was very interesting. I'll have to say, and it tells a tale of the lack of wealth when you have this red circle here. I didn't circle this. Okay, Tone Talks, he circled this, and this circle tells the tale of something that is very, very important. Um, this is when it comes to corporate equities and mutual fund shares. What I was talking about is small business, having just a small store, getting lack of support. Well, very few black businesses actually even make it from being a small business entity to actually being a corporate entity where they're publicly traded on the stock market and they have, you know, equities and mutual fund shares. Okay, you think about all of the companies, right? Like I work downtown, right? Chicago. And I'm surrounded by billion-dollar buildings. And the building I'm in and the company I work for and it's other companies that work for that work that have offices in the building I work. And basically all of these buildings, these billion-dollar buildings in downtown Chicago, they have companies that billion-dollar companies that have office spaces in these buildings, and they're making money every single day. Very few black businesses actually are located in any parts of the United States, including Chicago. And I think the last black-owned, uh, basically skyscraper was owned by the Johnson Publishing Company. So that's Jet Magazine, Ebony Magazine. They since sold those that building. They sold the company. Okay. I believe last I checked, it was sold to a black man, but I don't. They sold the building already. He does not that whatever the ownership is now. It does not include the building that was on Michigan Avenue. Um, last I know, as far as I know, it is not. So it's just basically a situation where even if you take the racism aside that black people actually have to deal with outside of black people, we still are racist amongst each other. We're actually we black people actually have to deal with racism with others, non-blacks, and we also have to deal with racism with black people. What do I mean by that? I basically what I mean by that is black people do not support each other to the point where they boycott other black businesses by reasons due to spite, by maybe they've had bad experiences with black businesses, maybe they don't just some black people just don't like other black people. You have, people. Uncle Ruckus is a cartoon character on the Boondocks, but you actually have people that actually are just like him, that are real actual living people, or they have that type of mindset where they just don't want to be bothered with black people. Okay, and all of this, comes at a cost to the point where you just don't have that competition. One of the things that my uncle, I'll never forget, uh my uncle, he was not really um the like kind of like well to do uncle of the family. He was like the least of the, right? He, just had problems after problems. It was like a great crowd, a great cloud just went, and followed him wherever he went. Almost like it just, he just couldn't, have any type of nominal success or consistent success whatsoever. It was just like, he's just like one of those type of uncles or family members that a lot of people have in their family. But even him, I mean, he is the one that told me, I'll never forget, because he passed away a few years ago. He said, "You have to compete with these white boys." Okay, that's what he told me. He said, "You have to compete, man." And it's just like that. And it's, and I never forget that, and it wasn't nothing that I wasn't gonna do anyway. I mean, um, but the thing is that I'll never forget that's what he said. You have to compete with these white boys. And it hasn't changed. Okay. Um, and the thing is that going back to let's just say intercultural racism that black people have toward one another, even if you pretty much take a side of the outer racism that black people have to face, with housing discrimination, just let's just say economic discrimination. Okay, black people don't have a break within themselves, within their own culture, because we have intercultural racism that we practice day in and day out, where we just pretty much don't look at things just like other people do. I'm going to tell you how it was when I had my small business. And I still have small uh little kind of seed projects that I deal with and I dabble with. I'm I still sell things. My herbs business is something that I still sell primarily on eBay. I get a little sale every now and again. Um, the other business entities that I'm working on are kind of like pet projects that I don't necessarily make any money off of, but they're still kind of in the works, right? But I say all of that to say that I actually did have a brick and mortar store. I've had a business where my computer business came from my grandmother's basement back in 2007 to a flea market booth in like 2009, 2008 to 2010, well actually latter part of 2009 to an actual brick and mortar store, right? So I pretty much I've been in business. I can tell you wholeheartedly that I out of the 3 years that almost 3 years that I had my store, I had one client, actually two, I would say, because my actual landlord that owned the building where my store was, he needed some cameras installed. So I made a deal where I'll install cameras and then I'll, take some rent. Whatever rent I had to pay, I just basically bartered that. So the thing is, I say all of that to say most of my customers were basically black people that people that I knew in the flea market, other people in the neighborhood, other people that I met through advertising. Um, and there's a few Hispanics, Mexicans, I'll say mostly Mexican, a couple Asians that like had a nail salon. It was like a couple nail salons around, like where I was at on 79th and off of Eberhard in Chicago. And that was pretty much it. And one of the things about, you know, just say for the typical, let's just say a typical white business, right? They have the support of everybody, including black people. Black people don't really, they don't have that type of like your loyalty or race loyalty when it comes to their money. You know, what do black people like spending money on? Primarily everything that is non-black, right? Right? What do black people what do black women like? They like Louis Vuitton, they like Prada, they like Dior, they like uh you know um Kate Spade, they like Gucci. All of these are European brands that pretty much are not black owned, right? All of these companies that black people spend money on, right? They don't, necessarily think about it like, okay, well, I spend my money on all of these other companies, but when I go over my cousin's house and Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year, they living in the hood. We going to the liquor store to get blunts because we about to smoke and drink and everything like that. But we around the hood, and these people, hanging on the corner, and it's like, yeah, it's because basically I'm not saying every black person should have a yacht in their backyard, in a jacuzzi, in a pool, in a mansion, but I mean, we would probably have a lot more if we had the same type of mindset that basically a lot of other people have. And it's basically it's the mindset is worse the worse my people come first. We don't have that mindset. We have the mindset of basically I got a dollar, or $10, $100. Whoever got the best price or whoever is the closest or whatever, I'm gonna get, whatever I need. And I get that understanding. I trust me, I shoot, I'm in the hood now. I get the whole concept of whatever's close to you, whatever is cheapest, you get it and get it as soon as you can, and that's it. But you got a lot of black people that don't necessarily live in the hood. They make more money, than the average person in poverty. I mean, the average person in poverty is what the poverty rate is like 12,000, $13,000 a year. You know, um, you got black people that make some decent amount of money, such as anything over, I would say, $75,000 a year, and pretty much they still have the same type of um consumer habits as somebody from the hood. They don't necessarily go out their way to. They might support their barber. Women support their beautician or statistician, or person that does their nails. Probably most likely the Koreans, right? But outside of their beautician, uh, and vice versa for me and their barber, black people really don't have that type of support where they are actually supporting one another like other people do or other racial groups do. Other racial groups, from what they eat, grocery stores, all aspects of their daily lives, primarily they go to their own cultural group. Now, some dynamics, like I say, because it's a monopoly, like what Indians, Pakistani, Bangladesh, Bengalis, right? Arabs, they have a monopoly on gas stations. If you got gas, if you need gas, you got to go to them to get gas, right? Really can't, you got some white owned gas stations and very very few black owned gas stations. Uh, Almost none, right? So you really can't escape that, right? You don't really even have Asians that have gas stations such as like Chinese or Korean. They're not into that like that, right? That's just not something that they're into too much like that, right? They're into what? Nail salons, Chinese restaurants, cleaners, clothing stores, maybe even some consumer goods stores and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, I mean, even still, we we have what in the average ghetto, right? Let's just talk about the ghetto. Let's even talk about all the way up to the upper middle class black communities, to middle class black communities. What do you have? You have your businesses, and this is what Dr. Claude Anderson was talking about. You know, you don't have an actual neighborhood or a community. You just have a place where you lay your head. The businesses that are in your neighborhood, who are they? What do they look like? Where do you go to go get all of your all, this is for just the average person. And I'm leading to why, if you broke, why you don't say that. um the amount you the things that you need in your day-to-day life, whether you doing it good, you got a Range Rover, your boo thing got a Jaguar or um what do you call it, a Tesla in the driveway, you got a mini mansion, from the person that's living in the hood, that's barely making it. What do you spend your money on? Who do you spend your money with? What you get your gas station, you get your gas, you go to the grocery store, right? You go get your, whatever you get for the month, for the week, who you spend your money with, who are you spending your money, and what options do you it's not a lot of options. I get it as far as who you spend with, because a lot of black people, this is what I'm saying. This is why I'm zeroing in on this circle, this red circle here. Not a lot of black businesses are even existing to actually even be able to buy things from, because the average business owner does not make it past 3 years, right? That's the that's the cutoff, right? Most businesses don't even last 3 years. A lot of businesses don't even last after a year. If they don't turn a profit right away, a lot of businesses give up and close the doors, right? So there might have been some place that you can go to get your nails done, or place that you can go get something to eat, or whatever, but it closed down because it didn't get enough support, whatever the case may be. Not to mention, yeah, black people do have some bad business habits, you know not opening on the right time, not closing at the right time, not being, yeah, all of that, and bad customer service, and then add on bad customer service, uh, you know, bad products, and yeah, no business. Black people are not oblivious to the common business mistakes other people make, right? So not to mention the competitiveness when it comes to business. But business in of itself, even if you even if you look, if you just say, I'm not going to even look outside of my own actual people, even within, black people do not actually have some type of cohesive unit, right, to actually have some type of business structure in their own neighborhoods, right? Um, you don't go into Little Italy, right? And the Italians are not going to Leroy to buy a cannoli, if you get what I'm saying. They're not going to go buy a calzone from Mr. Lee. They're going to buy a calzone and a cannoli from Tommy and Polly, you know, you know, from Vinny. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, we we just, you know, I can't say it enough. I know I'm not the only one to say this. When I have a pinpoint flashbulb moment of when that was like that, where we were going to each other for businesses, was before segregation. When there was actually segregation, when you had to go get, if you wanted ice cream and you were black in pre 1960, right? You had to go to, you know, Pauline's ice cream shop to get ice cream. And she was a black lady and she had children, and you knew some of her kids, and you went to grammar school with them. You That was the last time that actually that fucking, ideology actually existed, where, yeah, because you were forced to actually spend money with each other, to actually, oh, well, we can't go to, you know um Mr. Charlie's ice cream shop because Mr. Charlie said we can't get any ice cream don't bring your black ass around this side of town and get any ice cream. So if we wanted ice cream, we had to open up our own ice cream shops. Well, I hate to say it, but that actually fucking worked. Where you were forced to actually, support Pauline's ice cream shop if you wanted ice cream, because it was no other way to get ice cream other than if you go, if you lived in a sundown town and you went before the sun was down to go get some actual store ice cream from, the white grocery store. But if you wanted self-serve ice cream and pretty much, pre-segregation or whatever, you had to go to Miss Pauline's ice cream shop that, was a black lady that had an ice cream shop with her husband, you know, which was also the last time that black people actually were commonly married as well, pre-segregation. Ladies and gentlemen, uh, the word of the day is segregation, because actually post segregation is where a lot of this fucking problems were started. If I had to fucking put a word into this circle right here, it would be segregation, because we were forced to actually be communal with each other, support each other, and we actually did have better businesses, more businesses, because we were forced to have those. Unfortunately, post segregation, we were like, okay, we're going to Mr. Charlie now. And then, Vietnam happened, and then Mr. Lee came to town, and we're going to Mr. Lee, and then, you know, uh, all the people in the world started coming and streaming through, America, and we just start spinning with whoever. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, one of the things that I remembered when I had my store, and I used to see all these other people in the community, primarily the Arabs, right, and uh the Asians with the nail salons and the cleaners, and of course the corporate white owned entities such as like Family Dollar, Burger King, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I used to think to myself, after about 7 and 8 o'clock, right? And my store was in the hood, in the throes of the South Side, one of the most deadliest parts of the South Side of Chicago. Actually, after 7 and 8 o'clock, that's when uh that's when a lot of murders occurred, because a lot of the shop owners, they pretty much were out of there, and by 7 and 8 o'clock, and that's when a lot of shots were called, and a lot of people were getting shot up and getting killed after that time. And I say all of that to say, during that time was a time where those businesses, they took that money that they made. It's not like, miss pre-segregation, Miss Pauline and her husband with the ice cream shop example. They got they closed up shop, and they went to the bank or whatever, and they lived 2-3 miles away, right, in the same black community that they supported, that they were, basically they had the ice cream shop in. Well, all of these other people, they live outside of that that hood, that ghetto, that pretty much I had my computer shop in. you know um Even me, I was living in the suburbs. I was living with my mother in the suburbs at the time, and I was about, I would say, about what, 10, 12 miles away. And it was like, yeah, everybody closed up shop. They didn't live in that neighborhood, you know. I think the last guy that probably lived in the neighborhood, it was an African guy that had that store, and that I was in. He basically made African clothes, and he was a seamstress, and he would just, he would make clothes with his sewing machine, and he lived upstairs in one of the apartment buildings above the actual store. But yeah, mostly everybody, they would, close up shop, and they would go back home to wherever they lived. And that's pretty much how that goes. They don't live in those communities, even in the middle class neighborhoods, where black people live. All of those people that have the restaurants and the, stores, and all of the businesses, it's not like they live in that same community. They, live somewhere else. They close up shop, and then they go home, and they take that money wherever they go, wherever they live, right? And the thing is that you can't do this. Well, yeah, I can say can't. You can't do the same thing, right? Because see, here's the thing. And black people know that they can't do it. You know how I know they can't do it? Because no, it is some black people that are brave enough, just like I was, to actually start an actual business, and actually, open up a brick and mortar business, right? And they'll go around, typically they'll go in an area where their people are, where black people live, right? And open up their businesses. Well, it's some brave souls that actually did what I'm talking about, in the reverse, right? That they opened up a business in a predominantly white neighborhood. And I'm gonna tell you, those brave souls, most of them did not fare well with their business. I'll never forget my one of my grandmother's friends. Um, she had a health food store, and a predominantly basically white suburb, and it's predominantly black now. But she had this store in the early 90s. She had a health food store, and she put some money into it, and she, really tried to get it off the ground, but she didn't get any support enough to actually stay in business. She ended up having to actually live. She had two of her grandsons that she was supporting full time. She had to live with my mother, um, for a brief period of time till she got on her feet, because she had to fold up her business, and she put a lot of money into it and lost all of it, because she had to walk away from the business. She didn't get any support. And that's what typically happens when black people try to open up a business in a predominantly white area, because they don't turn the favor. Just they don't have the same type of ideologies or thought processes or even behaviors that black people have. Their money is not for everyone. They pick and choose. Now it is white people. If they like your product, they'll buy it. They'll even come to the hood. It's, white people go to you know heralds in the hood, and if they like the chicken or whatever, they go, support that business. But primarily, it does not work the other way around. It doesn't work. Like, you have to be, it's a system. It can work. It is some black black businesses that actually did do that and were successful. I would say if you were to do that, um you would have to be well funded, meaning you would have to have enough money to survive, maybe a longer period of time, right? Like, to kind of stand your ground, because you don't know how it might be. And secondly, you would want to do enough marketing to where, basically, you have, black people go to where your story is, in that predominantly, white part of town or whatever. And it's black people that have done that, and they were successful, but too few, far in between. It does mostly does not work, you know. And it goes to show, like, it's kind of like, you know y- you don't we don't get the respect that others that basically we give others. It kind of goes into that, where we don't get the same loyalty in return to how much we support other businesses. I hear all the time, you know black women chuckling about how much money they spend on Amazon, like it's so cool. And the thing is that, where's the black company like Amazon, or like eBay, and it's like, I mean, this is why this red circle is just like it is. Let me zoom in on it. This is why this is, because we don't have the same type of um chess moves. We we don't have the same moves. It's like, it's the other side is playing chess, and we're just like 3-year-olds just throwing the chess piece. We're not even competing. We're just, basically, we down to, basically, we got the other side of the chessboard has all of their pieces damn near, and you just got a king in one pawn, and just barely, you might as well just resign, but just keep it on playing. And that's the reality of this. We're not being strategic enough and understanding enough. See, here's the thing with me. If And this goes into why, kind of other people just kind of take people out, because if every black person thought like I did, basically, everybody would be kind of balling out of control. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't have no problem with all of those brands that I mentioned earlier. Louis Vuitton and Prada and all of that. Now that Balenciaga shit, I don't that shit, that's some suspect ass shit, man. That's some child predation type, Pizzagate type shit that I don't want no parts of. I remember, like, this was like last week and 2 weeks ago, all of those, like, allegations and everything, and as far as the ads with the little children and shit. Like, it was some dude that was like wearing a Balenciaga or whatever Balenciaga shirt in my job, and I was just looking at that shirt, and I was like, motherfucker, you got the nerve to be wearing this shirt. Like, you just ain't had nothing else to put on. Like, this was fashionable a week or two ago, but this shit ain't. I was just looking at that shit. I was like, damn, man, this you ain't got nothing left, huh? And yeah, he was wearing that Balenciaga shirt or whatever. I can barely say the shit because I don't wear that shit, because, like, one, I'm too cheap to wear that shit. Like I don't like some people they'll go in debt with their credit card and they'll try to buy, a Gucci belt and all that shit with like $300 and that's all they have in the bank and shit just so they could have a Gucci belt. I don't do no goofy ass shit like that. Like if I'm gonna do some goofy shit like that, I'm gonna spend $500 on a car that's a project car, and I'm gonna fix it up over time and shit. I'm not about to buy no uh fucking belt or no goddamn clothes for no five, six, say $700, $800. I'm just not into that shit like that. Now, if I had money, and I had it, and my businesses was already well funded and making money, maybe I might splurge a little bit on some companies that ain't on some old child predation type shit, child exploitation type shit. Yeah, maybe. But I got my own brands. I got my own Gucci shoes. I still have my broke geniuses sneakers that's on my website. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll rock them before I ever go get some motherfucking Gucci shoes for $500 or $700. I'm buying a whole bunch of my own shoes, and I'm gonna be trying to sell those. You know, I got my own Gucci shoes. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, the thing about it is, and they made in Italy too. But yeah, all of this shit goes back to why black people are broke, basically broke as fuck, and it goes back to business. Now I'm gonna fall back, because I've already said quite a bit, and I pretty much explained. This is uncontested. A lot of people, they just like, this dude's talking again. Broke genius is talking again. I ain't even broke, man, no more. I just, I just pretty much, I'm just, most of my subs on this channel, and I've been using this channel for so long. I haven't even started my other channel yet. I haven't even put one video on there. But this topic was about, you know, broke people, and I just had to say something about it. And the thing about it is, this goes I've already talked about why. This is not the first time I've talked about why black people are broke, but this definitely is, I would say, a very cornerstone video as far as why black people broke. And if I can just reach one soul and one brain, and actually get them to actually see the light, I've done something. Okay, and that's fine, right? Because um you know you don't have to be a fucking genius to figure out, well, if I'm getting no loyalty over here, and I'm what I'm saying, why am I spending all my money over here, and then these people ain't giving me no loyalty over here, and then it's pretty much very, very simple. It's like, if you don't support black businesses, if you don't create black businesses yourself, and actually try to grow them, to create jobs for your own people like other people do, you'll forever be broke, and your children will forever be broke, and it'll just be, this cycle that just will forever keep growing. Your neighborhoods are gonna forever look like they do, and a lot of it is mental. It's in your mind. A lot of this shit is this is a mental warfare. Okay, this is also a mental warfare. It's a lot of this shit is in your mind. How you think, your concepts, what you listen to, you know um it's a mental fucking, psyops. It literally is. And the thing about it is, you know, it very much is. In order for anybody to actually try to change their behavior, they have to change their mindset. They have to change their way of thinking. And for to do that for in mass is very, very extremely challenging. You know, very, very challenging. That's why the music is so powerful, because music people can millions of people can listen to the freaking frequency of music and actually get in tune. That's literally what it's called, a tune. Get in tune to a frequency. So I mean, the thing is that I say all of that to say it's a thing where, yeah, it's gonna be a whole bunch of people that are broke. And I'm not gonna rag on nobody. We all people not dumb. People nobody it's like some dude that's saying something about, the recent passing of Alan Roger Curry, and the fact that, kinda he didn't really kind of have his financial affairs in order, obviously. Because see, the thing about it is, I'm gonna say this, right? In all due respect to the brother, Alan Roger Curry, a lot of us are kind of like putting on some type of like cover to what was really, really going on in life. And it's going to show when you actually pass away what you actually did. Like for example, for me, I'm gonna be honest with you. My financial standing is I'm asset I'm asset uh I'm not gonna say rich. I'm not asset rich, but I have I have more assets than I have actual money on hand. Like my my I do have actual assets, right? I don't have it on my credit report as of late. I don't have any debts, as far as like I got like probably one or two collections that it's like less than $1,000. But I mean, all of that aside, like, pretty much my assets pretty much are over what I owe or what I have as far as debts or anything like that, even, credit cards and shit, right? So, you know, I ain't necessarily broke, but I'm not like cashed heavy or anything like that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I still kind of feel broke, even though I know I'm not broke, but I still feel broke because it's like I don't have a whole bunch of money. I'm not like, rich, or I don't have like, a whole bunch of actual cash on hand or anything like that. If I pass in the next hour, right? I mean, I will have quite a bit to pass on, because just kind of a situation where it's kind of luck. It kind of lucked up on things, because it's my job. I actually have a job with benefits and shit, so I have like insurance that's already paid for by my company. So, it's kind of like when I was in the military. When you're in the military, you get a life insurance policy of like $250,000. That is pretty much guaranteed, you know. Um so it's kind of like that, but I you know, the thing about it is it's a lot of people that have passed away. And my parents passed away, and they didn't have nothing. They didn't have nothing as far as any assets or money on hand, and that's sad. I feel sad about that because I wanted to, help my parents out. I wanted to be rich so I can help my parents out, and I didn't really get a chance to do that, and I feel some type of way about that. I really do. But it's a lot of people that actually they kind of run out of steam, and they run out of money, and it happens, and black people don't really have a lot of life insurance as well, and here's the thing when it comes, and I talked to Lonzo Hall. We've had 5-hour live streams, and we definitely talked about life insurance and stuff. And the thing about it is, I can wholeheartedly tell you that when it comes to the economic racism that black people face, life insurance companies are part of that economic racism. I can wholeheartedly tell you that when it comes to insurance, black people definitely face more scrutiny when it comes to getting insured and having, reasonable rates of premiums for life insurance and shit like that. Because yeah, I mean, once it's a fact. I'm not making this shit up. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's a historical fact. That's why actually black people actually started insurance companies, like Atlanta Life Insurance and other insurance companies like that, because we were, basically being economically excluded from life insurance policies, So yeah, it is something that is a barrier. And then another thing is, when you're sick, when you're already sick, it's very much an issue to where you can't get life insurance at a reasonable rate already off top. Like, at first I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, the brother didn't, he didn't really have much after he died. And, obviously the GoFundMe is the telltale sign of, okay, a lot of financial affairs wasn't necessarily in order, right? That's the quasi life insurance policy, the GoFundMe account, right? And the thing is that it comes down to, like I said, I mean, I followed the man consistently when he got on YouTube. I pretty much was definitely, I wouldn't say a regular, but I would definitely watch a lot of his live streams. And um I didn't necessarily get on a panel when he was on the panel. Um but yeah, I was definitely all over the YouTube streets listening to Al Roger Curry. I mean, and he definitely was vocal about his issues with his failing kidneys and taking dialysis, and you know dealing with diabetes and stuff like that. And I'll tell you, once you have any type of like health constraints, getting any type of insurance coverage is almost like, just shooting fish out of a barrel. Like, I mean, insurance companies, they weigh on calculations, probabilities, right? If you're already sick, they're in a business to make money off of, basically, ideally, very healthy individuals. So the chances of you are actually having a death benefit is slim to none. Therefore, they make, most of the money off of healthy individuals that, eventually will collect. But ideally, what they want to happen is you to not pay the premium, to when you get an older age, and the chances of you actually something happening to you that you actually stop paying the premium and you get cut off because you didn't pay the premium. And of course, they kept all of the previous, premium payments. That's an ideal situation for an insurance company. But when you're sick, the probability of something actually happening, which unfortunately in this case it ultimately did happen, in the case of Alan Roger Curry. Obviously, insurance companies are not in the business to insure sick people. I mean, it's just a cold hard fact. So even if he wanted to have insurance, premiums would have been ultimately relatively high, if almost none, no companies actually even insuring him, because it's like you're ultimate risk. You know, it's almost like, you know, I hate to say it, but it's like insuring, cattle in a meat plant. I mean, ultimately, the cattle is going, go into the meat plant. Like it's gonna get grinded up and get turned into ground beef. I mean, it's cattle. So it's like, the odds of that happening is just almost, 100%. So it's like, insurance companies are not dumb. So it's not like he couldn't afford to have insurance. I don't. It wasn't a situation where he couldn't afford to have insurance. I had to think about that. I had to use my critical thinking, after the fact, and think like, okay, that's why, even if he wanted life insurance, he couldn't afford to have any life insurance because nobody would insure nobody that's sick or sickly or have any type of debilitating illness. You know what I'm saying? Like that. So, um that's a fact. If you ask anybody that's in the insurance industry, they'll tell you the same thing. But the you know the, the obvious other things is, well, you know it comes to a situation where it kind of goes into, I will say, in hindsight, once again, all due respect, but I've already talked about this. I've actually had videos where I've talked about what I'm saying again. I mean, it's nothing that could be done to basically bring the brother back. But like I say, every time somebody dies, you look at what they've done, what impact they've done, and you kind of think, what would you have done different, or what could have been done different, and all of that type of stuff. And the thing is that, nobody knows, when they're gonna pass away or anything like that. And it was, the situation is that it happened. Now, should he have been more concerned about finances and money? I mean, he actually went to school for, basically, for finance, as far as from what I know. But his primarily conversations, and I mean, he was selling books based off of his concepts of dating, which, or actually, uh picking up women using mode one approach. But the thing is that, you know maybe, I think in hindsight, I would say he should have been more focused on actual finance, or maybe he should have, like, kind of changed some things up, maybe use mode one finance instead of like focusing on women, using mode one to, get business deals, and get, close business transactions and stuff like that. Like, cuz see, like, yeah, I mean, I've said this before. I mean, and I thought about this because I know eventually I was gonna say something about it, but um from a person that has had his fair share of women, I'm not gonna ever say that I've never had no lifestyle like Alan Roger Curry had as far as with women. Um, you know, I ain't gonna. I mean, I don't know if I ever will. I'll just say, but um, the hard part about, okay, getting women and being able to sleep with women versus making money, I'd have to say making large amounts of money is more difficult than actually getting women. I would even say even find women. If it comes to a situation where it's like, okay, I had to make $100,000 to $1 million, or sleep with a woman that is a fine woman that's a 8 or above, I would have to say that making $100,000 to $1 million would be harder for me to do versus to get a woman to be able to sleep with her that is a 8 or above. I would just have to wholeheartedly say that that would be more difficult for me to do, to make $100,000 within, let's just say, um a 30-day, or let's just say a 90-day period. It would be more difficult for me to make $100,000 to $1 million, or rather than being able to sleep with a woman that is an 8 or above. It'd be very much more difficult for me to make the $100,000 or $1 million. And I would have to say for most people, it would be more difficult. So it's like my level, my idea of focusing on women in relationships and stuff like that. Like, I understand. Like, yeah, I get it. Some guys, they gotta keep a woman on deck, and they gotta be in a relationship with a woman because they want the in-house, you know, sex and relationships and shit like that. I get it. Um People want family. People are men are some men are family men and stuff like that. I get it. I understand that. I want the same thing. I wouldn't mind the same thing. But um the thing is that those things are relatively something that I think is very attainable. But making millions of dollars, if not more, is more difficult than to have some type of relationship or sustainable relationship with a woman. It is more difficult to me to make a sizable amount of wealth to where I could pass it on to my children, or if not, I'm basically have enough to set them up and stuff like that, to where they have enough money to set themselves up to go to college, start a business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that's more difficult for me to do than to actually, you know, um, have women to, sleep with and have regular sexual relations with. And that's all I'm gonna say. I mean, that's all that I said before. I've said the same thing before. I mean, we all are the sum of our own actions. You know, every one of us are the sum of our own actions. Whatever we do, it's either going to be a net positive or a negative, to what's going to be done tomorrow. And I get it. I know sometimes, I'm not the winner of the popularity contest, of YouTube. You know, I have a lot more subscribers than a lot of other people, but I have probably very limited, if not no support. I get it. A lot of people hate watch and hate listen or not listen and because they don't like me or whatever, or I get it. I understand, but at the end of the day, you can't refute the actual realities of the fact that black people's position is of such to where you know we have lack of wealth, lack of businesses, and we are the brokest in the United States. And it shouldn't be no problem to admit, okay, I'm broke. Yeah, I'm broke. Now what? You know, it's not something that should be something that should be ashamed about. It should be something that you should learn to accept and grow on, to actually admit. you know it's something that you can basically say, okay, if somebody asks you for some money, no, I don't have any money because I'm broke. And it's like, pretty much because people wouldn't ask a broke person for any money, right? You know, people, what I'm saying, ask you for whatever. Yeah, I don't have it because I'm broke. Yeah, I'm broke. So, I don't have it, I'm in debt, you know, I don't have it. So people will stop asking you, they won't front, you're not fronting, they like, okay, they understand, and it's like, that's just one aspect of it. But the other aspect of it is that, you understand that you need to work on that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's kind of like a 7-step program, kind of like a drug addict. If a drug addict don't admit that he's a drug addict, he ain't gonna try to change the fact that he's doing drugs. It's just kind of like that. It's like, a 7-step program of being broke and understanding, okay, well, it's society kind of designed for me to actually be broke. I was sent here and I was robbed. My ancestors was robbed of my labor. Oh man, I appreciate that, Iori. Yeah, man. I understand, man. I know it's some people, man, that is in the trenches with me. But the thing is that, yeah, if you pretty much if you understand, okay, well, all right, this is why these things are the way they are, and I gotta try to work on these on an individual level. If I don't if anything, one of the things I will attest to is that I do agree with on an individual level, right? Is that if I can't do anything, right? And I agree with this wholeheartedly, right? Is that if anything, as far as if I can help anything, is that I don't be broke. If I can help myself not be broke, right? And actually have, follow some type of tenets, I definitely have a book that I wrote, and it's called the Millionaire Savings Plan. It's in all of my videos. It's on Amazon.com. You know, um, and the thing is that this book will help you on a step by step basis to actually kind of deal with the problem of lack of money. A lot of it comes from what? lack of savings. You don't you have to, and even if you saving money, what are you saving money for? You saving money to invest, but you need money first before you actually invest. So you have to save some money to actually be able to invest, right? So yeah, I mean, I wrote a book, about that, and it's called The Millionaire Savings Plan. And the thing about it is, this book is a life-changing book. This book is a book that it will change your life. This is making future millionaires. This book is going to um, you know, take people from a check to check lifestyle all the way to, being able to not be check to check anymore, be able to, instead of every year, staying in the house because, we don't have any money to go on a vacation, or, every day we're struggling, and the lights getting cut off, and, energy problems, and not being able to just live life, right? To, not having that problem, having, things on autopilot, because you do have some type of financial plan. You're not living check to check. You living, thousand to thousand, instead of living check to check, you live in 1,000 to 1,000. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's like, um one of this ex-marines that, I kind of found on Facebook. He was into multi-level marketing, but I never forget what he said. I mean, I've heard this before, but he said it like this. You know, I pretty much, I'm not shy to tell anybody my ambitions, and, wanting to be rich was something that I wanted to do since I was a little kid, since I was, 5 years old. Watching the lifestyles of the rich and famous. And the thing is what he said was, you know, if you want to be, if you want to have millions of dollars, you start with what you have. If you have $100, be the best $100 nair that you can be, and till you get $1,000, be 1,000 nair, then 10,000 nair, then 100,000 nair, then millionaire. And it's very, very basic, and it's just basic, so basic, it's like, damn, but it's some of the some of the most basic things make the most sense. And it really does. Like, it literally, you start with what you got, even if it's $100. You put that aside. Of course, you put your prerequisites in order, and, you get your bills paid up, and, get your, Costco bill, bulk up in your, your pantry, and, get all your groceries, so you ain't necessarily eating out, because you ain't gonna be eating out as much, right? If you're in debt, and, you live in check to check, right? You're gonna have to start cooking some meals. I definitely, I I'm not telling you something that I don't do myself. I mean, I definitely, I don't necessarily like the air fryer. I like the crock pot. I'm a crock potter. I like putting on, crock pot on slow, go to work, come back. The food is pretty much, um mostly cooked. Maybe got to put it on for another hour or two on high, because I'm already home, right? And then I got a whole meal, for like, a couple days. I could take some food to lunch, because, I don't have to buy lunch. You know what I'm saying? The next day, you start cooking meals, and you notice that you're saving money, especially now because restaurants, shit, it, you people people just think it's normal, but let me tell you something. It's not normal that a fucking takeout at McDonald's is $10 a meal. That shit ain't fucking normal, man. Let me tell you something. Like when you go, you notice how when you go to if you go to fast food restaurants. I'm talking about fast food. I'm talking about space food. You know, the hamburger that it just you know it doesn't grow mold after 2 months and shit. It looks like it's still edible because they done put so much preservatives and shit like that. You know, this shit is 12, $13 a meal. You go you go you go to a McDonald's and you get a Big Mac meal that's large, upsized drink, large drink, man. You gonna be spending 11, $12, man. And it's like, dude, that shit is not normal. It ain't it might be normal to you because a lot of times people have the habit, our brains have the habit to make things normal or to normalize things, right? That shit ain't normal, dude. You know, um, it is not normal. And it's not even worth it, really, when you think about it. And it comes down to a situation where, yeah, you should, have your meals together and, prepare your meals. And pretty much I would have to say that you should have those in order and your bills in order, and then yeah, start saving some money away. Start saving $100 at a time. Until you got at least 500, and then save $1,000 and if you could afford to buy my book, I mean, just buy the damn book. It ain't that it doesn't cost that much. Buy the book, doesn't cost that much, and you got the template. At least you got the template. I mean, basically, you get your first $1,000. You don't spend it. You put it away in a savings account. And pretty much you don't tie it to your debit card. Just put it in a savings account that's not attached to your debit card, to your checking account, and you don't touch it. And then once you get to that $1,000, this is for just on a basis level of somebody that's just barely getting by, right? Barely able to save $1,000. Because basically they saying that over 50% of Americans are not able to save $1,000. So this is a lot of people that I'm talking to. You can get yourself a reward once you saved $1,000, and you can buy something that is reasonable that I recommend you buy something that you need, you know, rather than what you actually want. Just buy something that you actually need. It could be what you want to, but I recommend it to be something that you actually need to. But you first you've achieved step one, and if you've done that, and you save 2,000, you've reached step two, and you get yourself another reward. And this system is basically the millionaire savings plan. I mean, it works, and the reward, it works too because it actually kind of like reinforces you to actually try to save more money, to keep cognitive that you're saving money, so you can try to actually even take that money and try to flip it and make some more money so you can get higher up the steps. It just kind of, this book actually, if you really follow it, it's going to force you to be an investor. You ain't gonna have no choice because I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm at the point now where I have to get into houses and cars. My job, I'm at the peak sin. I'm actually at the point now where I have to actually you know, a lot of the younger guys that I know that work in IT, they rag on me because I have to learn new skills. As old as I am, I have to learn some new skills. Right now, I'm taking some cloud courses. I'm actually in a class with one of the richest guys in the Black Manosphere, uh Theo Woff, taking his cloud engineering class, AWS class, and I'm actually trying to get up out of this hardware fucking, thing that I'm doing, that I've been doing for 15 years. And I mean, you can make a lot of money doing it versus if you, like, let's just say you've been working doing menial jobs and you want like a bridge to get into IT. And I'm definitely writing a course on hardware and software support. I'm gonna put it on Gumroad, but it's not something that you want to stay in for too long because you got so many avenues in IT where you can make over the ceiling of what a hardware support engineer makes, right? So software is where it's at, networking is where it's at, and yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm at the point in my own plan that I have to learn new skills so I can make more money. I'm at the point where I have to think about cars and houses in order to get higher up the steps because I've already got one house and I got to fix it up, and it's, dealing with that still, and I got to try to buy me some more houses because it gets harder once you go up them, get higher up the steps and shit. It just is. So it's gonna force you to actually be a businessman and think like an investor, actually be an investor, actually be a businessman once you go higher up the levels. Once you get, past the $64,000 mark and all of that, it's you're gonna have to get out your comfort zone and being this quiet average person that doesn't talk to people or is afraid to talk to people. You're going to have to, if you want to get higher up the steps, you're going to actually have to be either some type of investor. I don't even care if it's a silent investor. You're going to, in order to, most people's jobs, only less than 5% of black people make over $100,000 a year. Okay, most people are not going to be able to get higher up the, and I've said this in my book. I mean, most people are not, they don't have the income to actually, just by income alone, um get to the millionaire status as far as like up the steps with just their job alone. You're going to have to um sell big things or a whole bunch of little things over time, to get higher up the steps. Like it's not, your job is not going to do it by itself. And even your job itself, just having one job, you're going to possibly have to work multiple jobs, have start some type of hobby or convert your hobby into some type of like income, because let's just face it, like, yeah, I mean, it's one thing to save 4 grand and 8 grand and 16 grand and 30 grand, but when you get into the $100,000 mark and the 200 and some thousand mark and half a million, you talking big. You talking big money. You're gonna have to do some big things to make that. Um, it just is what it is. Like you're dealing with a bigger denominations of money. You're going to have to do some things such as like sell either big items, like I'm thinking like houses, cars, even to like you know whatever the case may be to get that step, to get higher up those steps. I mean, I'm definitely, still thinking about the stock market as well. I'm not counting that out, and I definitely need to get back to forex as well. I need to get back training forex and getting into forex. But and then yeah, never. I'm not counting out crypto as well. But yeah, this is one avenue to where you can actually kind of break this broke cycle. This is definitely something that I've done and I've used to break the broke cycle. I mean, you can do it too. If I can do it, I know you can do it. So um all of that aside, I would just say that it just whole broke concept, you know, um it's not really a big deal to me. People think like when I first started my channel and people was like, "Damn, you call yourself broke? God damn, man, what the fuck?" And it's like it's not really that bad as far as what I think in my mind. The reason why is because it's like, most people are broke. And the thing is that um it's not something that I'm ashamed or somebody should be ashamed to be, because it's like you acknowledge your problems, if you acknowledge your problems, you can't get fooled. You can't nobody take advantage of you, or you're not going to be delusional, because a lot of times here's what happens. When you don't acknowledge a problem, you get stuck in a state of disillusion, where you basically don't deal with the problem at hand. Like, for example, like, let's say I didn't deal with the problem of me being broke. Well, I didn't even acknowledge it, and it came up. I mean, of course, I know I have problems, and I come up short, right? But let's just say I never acknowledged it. I just do what everybody else does. Just don't say it. I don't bring it up. Just pretend that everything is fine in America, in Black America, and everything is wonderful. I'm not broke. Okay, I live my life. I don't deal with my problems, right? I just mull things over. Then what's going to slowly happen is just going to keep doing the same thing, having the same problems, and then I'm going to still be broke. And I chose not to do that. And that's why I'm not broke anymore. That's that's my prime example of why I just chose not to do that. And of course I listen to other people. I ain't gonna lie. I was listening, I was listening to Amir. He changed his name a whole bunch of times, the channel. And then I was also really I couldn't stand the guy, but I was still listening to Savings Minus Debt. And the thing is like a lot of his shows where he had Savings Minus Debt was some of his most provocative shows that he had. And I just to myself, it was just like, I mean, I'm not like Ramil. I'm not, I'm not a I mean, we don't have the same, let's just say I don't have the same type of, I mean, we both ex-Navy, but I didn't have the same let's just say I'm more of a square. You know what I'm saying? That Ramil is, right? But um the thing is that one of the things that I really agreed with him was the aspect of not getting into debt over dumb shit, not over leveraging liabilities, and just basically staying away from debt. And of course, savings minus debt, I mean, he pissing people off. He calling people debt slaves. Oh yeah, most doubt, man, no doubt, dude. I ain't gonna lie. It takes a certain level of intelligence. Um, I would say uh to make money. Most people that have money and consistent income and wealth, they are some very intelligent people. And it is some people that are not as what I would call broke fools that are not very intelligent or whatever. um or some people just make the right decisions at one particular time, and they just keep working on it or whatever. But yeah, I have to say that um yeah, most people ain't really. I talked about this on my video where I was talking about the four types of people, and how a lot of people just follow the herd, the herd people, and when you separate yourself from the herd people and you go into um the higher man, or higher, you tap into your higher self. It becomes more rare and rare. It's like once you get to the person that's like a guru, like a sage, it's so less of a percentage of people that are like that. It's like talking like 1 to 2% of the people in the world. They're like sages and gurus and yogis and all that shit. Like, I mean, you know, even the man that is below that, it's not that many people like that. It's not you talking about, and I gotta redo the video with BGS Itmore's the fuel types, because it was a couple things that I didn't talk about in that. But when you go into like the masters of the universes, it's so many people that are rare like that, that it's those people are very, very rare, that you ain't gonna not a lot of people gonna understand you, one, and then it's just not a lot of people that is gonna be anywhere near that level. It's something I'm already used to. I already understand that I'm gonna be the lonely dude in the mansion, probably at this point, obviously the lonely old dude, and sitting in my chair next to my fireplace. You know what I'm saying? Like, I already know. Like, it ain't gonna have to, man, dude. I'm like a poor master of the universe type. I got ideas that just ain't got funded. I mean, it's just like that. Like, I'm still in the works, but yeah, it ain't, dude. I already know how it is, man. It's a lonely world when you understand. And I know it's kids. I know it's people that's way smarter than fucking I am. You know, by a landslide. You know, but yeah, it's just not. It trust me. I understand wholeheartedly what you're saying. And that's why it don't really bother me. To be honest with you, and this is not narcissistic. I'm gonna play a video of a narcissistic guy that's gonna be broke splaining why he you know took his children's income and savings to pay off his back taxes in a minute. But I watch my own videos. Like, a lot of times I play my own videos like as if I'm watching it. I'm like my one of my best subscribers. Like, I literally listen to my own videos. Like, You know what I'm saying? Like, like I'm my own subscriber, like literally, cause I be saying some shit that I forgot that I said. I be dropping gems to myself in the future. Like a lot of times, like I say, like these videos are like personal kind of like diaries where I can re-listen to it to remember, a particular thought that I had that I forgot, and get reestablished and reacquainted. But yeah, man, you ain't never lied, bro. Never lied. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna close this off and actually show this this is something that's quite interesting. And it is it's not really surprising. It's not very very surprising, because we all know the story of Master P. We all know the story of how he's a legend. Okay, Master P is a legend. I don't necessarily think he's a dumb dude. I've seen a lot of idiots. I've seen a lot of rich idiots. He was definitely a rich idiot, but I've seen a lot of worse rich idiots. I mean, the man came from poverty. He definitely had to be smart enough and had enough hustle to take his granddad's $10,000 insurance policy and turn it into selling music out of his trunk into a record label and making over $100 million. But you know he definitely he spent way too much money and got in over his head a lot. And what this video is I'm gonna play is him responding to his son Romeo, explaining, kind of putting out the family business, is that this guy, owing all of the money he owed, he was using his children's savings, in Romeo's case, entertainment earnings, to pay off those back taxes. And is one of the things that's interesting is I correlated this through another example. Master P is definitely a textbook. You will listen to this in a minute. He's a textbook narcissist because one of the things that a narcissist does is they don't acknowledge their faults. They just put it on the other person. They gaslight the other person to say it's their fault and they shouldn't have done this, and I did this for you. It's kind of like this. Basically, what he's saying is going to elaborate in this video is that, okay, it's like, for example, let's just say your mom put your social security number on the light bill, and you grow up 18 years old, you trying to get you an apartment, you trying to get you a credit card, and your credit score is 450. And you look at your credit report and you got all of these past due light bills. Well, your mother comes to you, you like, okay, you come to her and it's like, why, mom, why you put, the light bill in my name, and blah blah blah, like, now my credit is in the dumps, and then I have these past due light bills that are still on my account. um and then they tell you some story about, this, I was doing the best that I could do, and I had to do it. I didn't get no help, and blah blah blah, and it's like, all you say really in that case is just, you really This is what the response is. Son, daughter, I am sorry. I have messed up. Whatever I can do to get some money to pay that back, I will. I can't erase what I've already done. I've done it, and I was really irresponsible, and I was in a bad place, and I'm gonna try to rectify that situation and pay those past due balances off, and I'm sorry. Anything else is just narcissistic cover, shame, blame, and explain bullshit. And that's what he is going to be telling you in this video. Let me share this and show you. And this is exactly the type of shit that I'm talking about in as far as, broke. If you broke, just say that. And obviously it doesn't matter. You can be, it's a whole bunch of millionaires and obviously billionaires is broke. Sam, what is it? Sam Frankman or Blankman or whatever, the dude that was running FTX. Actually, you know, FTX was this like big startup that was supposed to be this unicorn, right? And it was worser. It was more of a fraud than Theranos, and it was one of the biggest frauds in the, in the entire startup community. And this dude's like freaking went from a billionaire to like stuffing money in a laundromat and trying to go to the freaking Cape, the Bahamas to basically get rid of, put that money in offshore accounts. um I mean, it's just, it's people that can go broke even if you're rich, you can go broke. So let me play this, get this going here, and it's just
I
listen
got
to
to get out
this.
of character and put this on the internet, which I don't want to do. But I try to call my son. People say, "Why you call?" I did. He called back. It's been months. So my question is to Romeo, like, you've been in the business, you've been 30 something, and if you've been around me, watching me hustle and do my thing, why you not where you want to be at? Because that means you're not listening. That means you want to do your own thing. You done brought your own circle of people, but you can't get mad at me because I really thought this was about the only reason I entertain this on social media. I thought that was about the DJ Twitch.
Now he's redirecting everything other than what this was all about. Obviously, is that he was broke, he owed money, taxes, he had to ultimately file bankruptcy as well, made well over $100 million, and still went broke. He ain't say nothing about that. And yes, it is true. If anything, yeah, Romeo, he could have followed his father's blueprint and created a label and got a whole bunch of people and start rapping and everything like that. Uh, and maybe did it better, right? And not go broke and not spend all of the money. Yeah, I do agree. Like, but I mean, that he ain't his father. I mean, he's Romeo. That it's like, you can only be what you want to be. I mean, eh, he still has, a life to live. He's fairly young, but um long story short, the man, basically he took a lot of money from his son to pay his taxes off. I don't know how much, I don't know how big of amount it was, but um it's not only that he took Romeo's money, but he has his other children, he took their money, their inheritance and savings to pay off his taxes. Kind of the same scenario like I was saying with the light bill scenario.
Post I put up, and I thought it was about my daughter's debt. I thought you was grieving. Mental illness is real. But I want to tell all the people out there that just don't understand how bad my heart hurt. Romeo lost a sister, but I lost a daughter. And for any parent that's going through this, because I know that it bring people closer together or it tear them apart. But I come from nothing, y'all. And I could go back. I'm cool with it. I won't be angry at God.
Now he's saying he because his dialect is definitely, New Orleans, French Quarter, Louisiana, but he actually saying a Freudian slip. He's saying death, but he's actually, it sounds like he's saying debt, his slang, as far as his dialect is actually debt as well. This is about, Romeo was talking about the debts that you owed, that he had to pay for, that he, don't have, and he's struggling with day-to-day realities of real life, as as of now, because you were in debt, not because of his sister's death. It's because you was in debt.
I won't be upset. I won't go get mad and be disrespectful to my parents and none of that stuff. I just say, Dad, thank you for putting me in this world, not to get out and hustle and go do my thing. But that's the problem. When you take kids and you kind of like uh, protect them from the real struggle and the pain, and you don't allow them to deal with their own consequences. And then when they grow older, they, oh, you never gave me nothing. At 30 something, man, people could go back and look, you've been shining for a long time, son. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call me or come to the house and holler at me. The saddest thing about this is what the people want to see. They want to see destruction. So if you destroy me, what are you going to do for the rest of the family? Are you going to take care? You told me on the post that you
Full spectrum narcissism. It is this is full spec. Like, I mean, I could see if it was a situation where, like, it's like 50 Cent son. 50 Cent son necessarily wasn't no rapper. He was not an actor. You know, he was, he wasn't in movies and everything like that, and earn any money as far as I know of, right? And he's wanting some financial support from his father, right? He wants a handout. Romeo, he didn't make a post mentioning that he wanted a handout. He already made money from his entertainment, from rapping, acting, and whatever, image and likeness money he made off of himself, that you basically took, Master P, his father, took from him. And it's like all of this gaslighting about, I did this for you and all that. It, like I say, it's the same shit that a parent would do, that you found out that they done, took your piggy bank money and used it to pay, their boyfriend's light bill or some shit, or gave the boyfriend some money to get out of jail. It's all this other bullshit about, I helped raise you and this and that. It's deflection at its best. To not point out the real fact that you just took my money and you ain't give it back to me, and I ain't got it, and I feel salty about that shit. Now that I'm getting older and I want to have a family, and I want to, live no limit, and I don't have no limit. I got actual limits because you took all my money.
put up, oh, you go take care of people in the community. That's what you're supposed to do when you come from that. You go help people. I'm just not helping ungrateful people. I'm not an ATM machine. People can't just say they love me when I give them something. I'm tired of that, y'all. And any other parents, you could be rich or poor at a smaller level. You might give your kid $10, but if that's all you got, I've always fell off, got back up, hustled, did my thing. I'm tired of all these blog sites and all this stuff, poking and having fun. Y'all can, but I'm about to go back to work and do what I got to do. I love my family. My door is always open for my son. To be honest, because we shouldn't have to go through this. And if I'm wrong, forgive me. I'm apologizing to you if I'm wrong. I'm still a work in progress. I come from nothing.
If I'm wrong, are you wrong? You not gonna admit that you wrong? I mean, that, if I'm wrong, I apologize. Obviously, if you took the man money, that's your son. I get it. You birthed him. You know, technically, you was responsible for him. He was, he was your son. He was in your house and everything like that. I mean, but it's still kind of, when your kids get older, they kind of go, you took, let's just say you took $10 million of their money, and they unfortunately can't make that same amount of money. They only like Romeo because he was Master P's son at the time that was on fire, talking about, we no limit soldiers, and I thought I told you. Then all that stuff kind of played out or whatever. And it's like, they don't like Romeo, the 30-year-old, Romeo that's just Romeo, right? He can't necessarily, it's hard for him to, kind of make money off of that image and likeness, or he trying to still find himself, or whatever the case may be. He he looking at that $10 million that you spent, and then he looking at all his other siblings that they had money or whatever, that maybe the other siblings, you gave them the money and they had it, you had it saved for them for their inheritance, right? I mean, you made over $100 million, and it's like they like depressed and shit because they gotta go, yeah, live like average everyday Joes, and go get a job and work and struggle, when they daddy had millions of dollars, and then in Romeo's case, he made his own money, and he ain't got it because he had to give it to his daddy to pay his debts off. And now his daddy, pretty much somewhat acknowledging that he did wrong, but not fully acknowledging that he did wrong as a textbook narcissist. And it's like, I just had to play this shit, but let me play this shit
Everybody
off.
go through trauma. I'm dealing with this right now, but I love going out into the community and helping people. That's the way I heal. Allow me to heal. I don't have to be sitting around moaning and crying and all. I can't get my daughter back, but I can get out there and keep a legacy going, keep a name going. So let's do this in love and let's do this in peace, because this is what the system wants. Think about it. We stronger together, but you older now. So you got to lead by example for the rest of the kids. And we're gonna get through this. I'm just telling y'all, keep y'all prayers. We need it. And God gonna do what he gotta do. You know, I'm not gonna come on here no more. So bloggers and everything else is cool. Whatever you want to deal with Romeo. Whatever y'all think he's saying is true or whatever, that's cool too. I can live with it. I'm at peace now. I had to speak my piece.
Man, he probably should have just said nothing, and it probably would have been better. But yeah, I mean, if that is the case, that the man done took his money, anything besides you giving me my money back, I'm sorry. I mean, it's just like it ain't no other explanation needed. Ain't no other explanation needed. I mean, and the thing is that I don't know that man what he got. I don't know what Master P got, man. I mean, um, he definitely. I don't think he got 100 million. I don't think he's sitting on 100 million. I don't know what the man got, but I hope he can give that boy, his money back. And that's all I could say about that. But yeah, I mean, it's just this is just a perfect example of closing this out on, if you just broke, just say that.